being told that free speech is effectively under challenge because mercantile interests are holding them to ransom. Why don't we speak of political parties owning channels? In the South, business interests and media interests merge and they're controlled by parties. You want a standing example? The Sun Group owned by the DMK, which has been a partner not just to the Congress, but also to the BJP. Because after all, the Commerce Minister during Mr. Vajpayee's tenure, who was leading India in the Doha negotiations with respect to World Trade Organization, was Murasoli Maran from DMK. Neither party deemed it fit to crack down on the holding of media interests by political interests or political organizations. That has never happened. Why just the DMK? Jayalalitha also owned Jaya TV, which continues to be run by the ADMK. I would say it's much better for a mercantile interest to own, let's say, a media organization as opposed to a political interest, because there's a serious conflict of interest on both sides. That's a discussion that we don't seem to be having here. Now, ghoom phir ke abhi baat jo hai, it has become about only the Congress and the BJP. I would say at this point, members who are listening to this should actually say we are sick and tired of this nonsense. We'd like to actually have a discussion which goes beyond the BJP and the Congress. And we'd like to talk. Because until the cows come home, this battle will go on. But nevertheless, given the fact, the cow, of course, pun intended, given the fact that the Congress has been in power for a longer period of time, ask any student of constitutional law. Almost every decision on free speech involves a clampdown on free speech by Congress-ruled governments, either at the state or the center. So at the very least, the Congress must take a look at its own history before it starts pontificating to the rest. And you're certainly in no position to pontificate today. When all the information is out in the public domain through the social media, people have access to judgments, people have access to decisions, file noting, so on and so forth. You're in no position to pontificate. To ape him, 30 seconds. Yes? So I would only request you to ask yourself only one thing. Self-regulation in India is a non-existing word. It's a non-existing concept. There's not a single body that can be trusted to regulate itself. I say this as much of the judiciary when it comes to its collegium system, and I say this as much of the media. Now, on the point that Mr. Kulkarni raised, that the government is thinking of setting up a center which can crack down on fake news. The Press Guild does nothing. The Press Council of India does nothing. No action has been taken against any organization or any portal or, let's say, individual journalist for their direct role in, let's say, spreading or manufacturing fake news. What are we supposed to do? You can't go to a court asking for directions against a private party in a writ petition. So what do you do then? The government has the task. You know why? Because if fake news starts on WhatsApp, particularly in the context of riots or any kind of communal violence, so to speak, and let's assume that the trigger is a lie, it falls upon the government to have a mechanism to actually trace that lie back and also perhaps nip it at the bud. So if the government were to actually go against all kinds of news, that's a different issue. But to say that the government doesn't even have the right to go after fake news when self-regulation as a concept is completely failed in this country, I'm sorry to say, what are we really batting for? This is exactly what happens when you choose to go after every policy initiative merely because it's the BJP at the helm or the Congress at the helm without asking what is right and what is wrong. I can pander to the gallery here by reducing this to a television debate, but this is SRCC. I think you're better, right? And therefore, I would urge you to put pressure on debaters and panelists to stick to the issue, at least in their own interest.